If you're a UK investor holding the S&P 500, you're not just investing in American companies, you're also making a bet on the US dollar. And with the US dollar index sinking to its lowest level since 2022, and more talk of US dollar debasement, it's worth asking whether that weaker dollar will put an S&P 500 portfolio at risk, even if the companies within it continue to grow. It's a question I've asked about my own portfolio, so I've done the research, and today you'll understand how currency fluctuations affect S&P 500 returns for UK investors, what history tells us about prolonged periods of dollar weakness, why alternative assets have gained popularity during similar cycles, and what practical options investors actually have today. If you're a UK investor invested into any of these S&P 500 funds, there are two factors that drive performance. First is the performance of those US companies within the index, and second is the GBP USD exchange rate. Now, there is absolutely no doubting the underlying performance of US companies, at least over the past couple of decades. Even in British pound terms, the S&P 500 has outperformed the MSCI World Index, the UK, Japan and Europe. And that's not just by a few percentage points, we're talking 44% up on the MSCI World and in the region of about 150% up on the other indexes on screen. And look, that data only ran up until 2022. So I ran a number of comparable market tracking ETFs over on justetf.com from 2023 to the present day, and found very much the same thing, that the S&P 500 was the highest performer, followed by the MSCI World, but admittedly in the past 3 years Europe has got ahead of the UK and Japan, which have still lagged behind. So there is a long-standing track record of US equity market outperformance, which has largely been driven by the largest companies on the planet and most innovative too, which has kind of given investors confidence to invest in US equities, which I guess is totally understandable. But there is a big and present risk to all of this. Admittedly, it's a cyclical one, but cycles can last for a couple of decades. And the big risk that we're talking about today is the foreign exchange rate. Let me just share the context of how this works just for somebody that might be a little bit newer to investing. When buying US equity, regardless of whether you're buying an individual stock or an exchange traded fund, in order for that transaction to take place, your Great British pounds must be exchanged for United States dollars. Even though you'll still see it listed as pounds and pence in your brokerage app, you're still exposed to the exchange rate. Now, the issue that we have here as UK investors is that the US dollar has lost nearly 22% of its value against the pound since the previous all-time highs in late 2022, with continued downward pressure in 2026. Here's exactly what that means for UK investors. Over the last 12 months, the S&P 500 index has returned 15.02%. But the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, which tracks the S&P 500 index for UK investors, has returned just 6.56%. That's an 8.5% underperformance, and it's mostly down to the adverse impact on the FX rate that UK investors are exposed to. Now, of course, that FX rate risk has largely been mitigated with superior US equity market performance, especially in the past few years or so. But the question that I've got as an investor is, well, what happens though if the US dollar just keeps falling and falling in value as a UK investor investing into US equities? There is this famous quote that goes, "History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes." And if we want to understand the risk that a weak dollar poses to UK investors, then we have to look back at one of the clearest currency stress tests in history, which took place in the 1970s. Not because history will repeat itself exactly, but because it shows us what happens when confidence in US monetary policy weakens, the dollar enters a prolonged decline, and equity investors face currency headwinds at the same time as market volatility. Now, the 70s was known for the decade of questionable fashion choices, but equally it's the decade where questionable political decisions caused an economic and monetary mess.
I have directed Secretary Connolly to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
That's President Richard Nixon in 1971, where he decided to completely abolish the gold standard. This was a monetary system that was set up by the Bretton Woods Agreement in 1944, where the US dollar would be backed by gold. And it was done to create a primary global reserve currency amongst 44 allied nations. Now, the immediate result from coming off the gold standard wasn't just inflation and market volatility, but it was a total loss in confidence in the US dollar. From the day that the gold standard was abolished in 1971 through to 1978, the US dollar index declined just over 30%. And this is where it matters for investors, especially UK investors. The US stock market then fell 50% in 1972, and between 71 and 78, equities delivered almost zero nominal returns. But here's the important distinction to make for UK investors. Back then, the British pound actually lost 35% of its value against the US dollar during this period, in what was a multi-decade downtrend. That meant that UK investors holding US assets were partially insulated, if you like, from the weakness in the US dollar and the US equity market too. Now, in contrast, one potential attractive option today is to invest in UK equities instead. But back in the 70s, it wasn't quite the case, given that back then the FTSE 100 was called the FT30, and during 1972 and 74, the market declined 70%. So the 70s were a difficult decade regardless of how you looked at it for equity investors. But the FX dynamics made it perhaps even more tricky in order to navigate that very difficult time in the stock market, in which there's a bit of a key lesson for us to take away here, in that currency movements, whilst they can expose us, they can also protect us too. It just depends on the directional travel of the currency markets on the whole, which kind of brings us back to the present day. Because today UK investors are facing into almost the opposite setup with the S&P 500, where the pound is actually strengthening relative to the dollar. This means that currency movements are actually acting as a headwind, not actually supporting returns like they have done in the last 10 years or so. And whilst US equity markets as at recording are in an uptrend still, it probably goes without saying that markets, to me anyway, feel like they're on a little bit of a knife edge, especially with the recent reaction when Trump then went after Greenland and started to say that he was going to impose more tariffs, and since then he's imposed even more tariffs on other countries. It brings into question currency stability and political credibility too. And when that comes into question, capital doesn't sit still, it starts to move. Which brings me on to the next question, which is, where does that capital flow when the dollar starts to devalue? Well, let's discuss that next, but first I wanted to introduce you to today's video sponsor, which is Lightyear. Lightyear is an investment platform that allows you to start investing with a choice of over 5,000 stocks and a world of ETFs available. They offer a range of different accounts, from the stocks ISA, cash ISA, general investment account, and business accounts. I personally use their business accounts, where I invest spare business cash into a qualifying money market fund, which has a current rate of interest at 3.82%. And I've also got quite a small holding in a FTSE All-World fund too. This setup helps me hedge business cash against the rate of inflation, which is currently 3.4%, along with managing both market and currency risk, just like we've been talking about today with the S&P 500 and the US dollar. Now, Lightyear have just launched fractional investing inside of their stocks ISA to remove the barriers to investing and make it far more accessible to everyone. On top of that, their stocks ISA is commission-free, and FX fees are only 0.35%. And with today's focus on FX risk, every fraction of a percent saved really helps out the UK investor investing abroad. Do note that fund manager fees still apply. It's an app that I'll be continuing to use in 2026, and to help you guys get started, Lightyear have kindly offered all of my subscribers one free fractional share or ETF of your choice, valued up to £100 when you click on the QR code here on screen, or open an account by clicking on the link down in the description below. Or alternatively, if you enter the promo code Mitch inside of the app, you'll still qualify for that one free share. All you'll need to do is complete onboarding and deposit £100 into your account. And you can read all of the T's and C's down in the description below. Do remember that investing involves risk, and the value of your investments can go up as well as down. With that said, back to the video. When confidence in a currency and the US administration falters, then capital starts to move. And I found the parallels to the 1970s even more interesting when we listen to this part of Richard Nixon's speech.
I'm taking one further step to protect the dollar, to improve our balance of payments, and to increase jobs for Americans. As a temporary measure, I am today imposing an additional tax of 10% on goods imported into the United States.
Now, it doesn't half sound like a very similar political and economic playbook, and it's no wonder that capital shifted back in the 70s and why it's also shifting today. The clearest example of this, which I'm sure you're all aware of now, is the shift in capital into precious metals. Because I'm sure you can guess what happened to gold back in the 1970s. Well, prices went parabolic, from $40 an ounce to over $700 an ounce, a 1,665% return on investment. Now in the last couple of years, in dollar terms, the run has been even stronger, from under $2,000 an ounce in late 2023 to record highs of over $5,000 an ounce today, dwarfing the price gain that we've seen historically. That has also been supported by central banks increasing their gold purchases, and ETF inflows massively increasing too. But do you want to know what went on an even bigger run? Yep, you probably guessed it, and that's silver. From August 71 to the market peak in 1980, a 2,138% increase in prices from about $1.50 an ounce to $35 an ounce. And that was before iPhones, computers, electric cars, solar panels, and all of the things that we actively use silver for today. It is therefore interesting, in my opinion, to see silver on a very similar run than what gold is currently, up well over 500% to now over $100 an ounce since the market lows in 2022. This shift in capital perhaps represents the loss of trust in the US administration, along with the geopolitical tensions which stem right the way back to Russia-Ukraine. Then fast forward a few more years and we're now talking about tariffs and acquiring Greenland and all of these things that are probably just a little bit unnecessary. Old alliances are being tested to their limits, and like I said, history doesn't repeat itself, but it does often rhyme. So now let's turn the page to 2026 and talk a little bit more about this US dollar debasement and what that actually means for a UK investor that's exposed to US equities. Okay, let's talk about a US dollar debasement and what that means, because you may have seen it in the headlines. Debasement simply means the fall in value of the United States dollar relative to that of other currencies. It doesn't mean that the US dollar is going to completely collapse and cease to exist, despite what some YouTube thumbnails may make you believe. Although regardless of how opinionated you are about the US dollar and its defense or demise, currencies have admittedly failed in the past, like we saw over in Venezuela, and currencies like the Iranian rial are failing as we speak. So nothing's ever off the table, but it is probably highly unlikely, especially in the short term. But that's why this debasement trade that people are talking about is so important, because when currency debases or just falls in value relative to that of the Great British Pound, as we've already spoken about, it can dilute and even reduce investment returns, as we've already addressed. And there are a few different forces that contribute to this occurring. Firstly is monetary policy. Lower interest rates or rate cut expectations reduce dollar yields and therefore make the US dollar a less attractive investment for foreign investors. Secondly is fiscal pressure. Large government deficits, which we have at present, can erode that confidence in the US national debt, which is already over $38 trillion. Third is geopolitical pressure. Trade tensions, tariffs, shifting alliances, and this kind of growing global fragmentation, if you like, is what influences how investors think about a currency or a global reserve currency. And yes, we've seen just about all of that and some more in the past 12 months. But let me try and provide a little bit of balance here. Whilst the US dollar is declining in value, it doesn't mean that the innovative companies that operate within it are going to simply disappear. It doesn't mean the S&P 500 stops growing, and it doesn't mean that US equity markets lose their global importance. But it does mean for UK investors that investing in the S&P 500 isn't just all about earnings growth rates and valuations, and that currency and FX rate risk is just as important too. And that's why the final piece of this conversation is so important. And of course, this isn't financial advice, and none of what I'm about to say is an investment recommendation, and you must always go and do your own research. But when we look at periods of currency stress, there are a few options available to investors in order to be able to mitigate and manage that risk. The first is to simply do nothing. One consistent lesson from history is that behavioral discipline when investing certainly matters. If we chop and change our investment portfolios every time we see a news article that hits the press, we'd be forever chasing returns in our investment portfolio. And investing is not always about having the perfect investment portfolio at all times. Even if we just take a look at this piece of research from Vanguard, it shows that there will always be a better returning asset that will simply outperform your portfolio. And I think that's certainly something to be mindful of, in that good things don't always last forever. Because guess what happened to gold and silver after their huge runs in the 1970s? Well, prices collapsed and stagnated for the following 2 decades. Obviously, I have no idea what's going to happen to gold and silver prices today, tomorrow, next week, or next year, and it's important to say that past performance is no guarantee of future results, but all I do know is that historically speaking, markets don't just move in straight lines, and and perhaps that's something worth thinking about. The second is to have a multi-asset, globally diversified portfolio. Look, having a broad-based multi-asset portfolio can help spread some of that exposure and reduce volatility within an investment portfolio during turbulent times. It's one of the reasons why I personally own a FTSE All-World ETF, which is a global equity market tracker, and yes, whilst that is heavily weighted towards US equities, it does mean if the US equity market were to perform poorly on its own, then other countries like the UK, Europe or Japan may actually become more attractive to investors, just like they have been in the last 12 months or so. It mitigates the risk of having all of your eggs in one basket, if you like, and as we can see from this study from Vanguard, portfolio volatility can also be reduced by having a mix of stocks and bonds. And it may even be worth thinking about other asset classes that may be uncorrelated to the performance of the US equity market and also the exchange rate too. All of this is just about playing into your risk appetite, which should be seen as a strength and not a portfolio weakness. So to summarize all of this, does a weak US dollar put a UK investor at risk if they're investing in the S&P 500? Well, the short answer is yes. The takeaway here though isn't just to simply abandon US equities, and instead it's more about understanding what your own currency exposure is and then building an investment portfolio that can cope when currencies and capital moves. Because as we know, markets change, currencies cycle, and history doesn't always repeat itself, but it does often rhyme. If you enjoyed this video guys, be sure to subscribe to the channel. YouTube thinks that you should also check out this video next. That being said, see you over in the next one.